All right, the first step for our monochromatic winter landscape will be to create a horizon line. I'm going to do mine below the midpoint, and I'm going to make it very light and a little bumpy because I want it to look like there's some snow accumulating on the ground. I'm going to put my name lightly down here in the corner, and that way I know it's mine, and I'm done with my pencil. My next step will be to add the sky, and we're going to do that in a monochromatic color scheme. Mono means one, chroma or chromatic means color. So our one color is going to be blue, and we'll be adding white to make it lighter. Those are tints. And we'll be adding black to make it darker. Those are shades. So I'm going to begin with picking a point for where I want my winter sun to be up in my sky, and I think I'm going to kind of do it not right in the center, but a little bit above and also to the right. So that's my preference. The moon, or this is going to be the sun. I guess it could be either. Is going to be a circle right about here. I don't need to paint it. I'm going to leave it paper white. So the first thing I need to do is make the very lightest tint of blue possible. And I'm going to do that by taking a glob of my white paint on my brush, and then I'm going to take the tiniest little dab, not drab, of blue paint, and what is going to happen is it's going to turn my white into a tint of blue. If you can just barely tell it's blue, hooray. So I'm going to take this tint and I'm going to make an open circle, like the letter O, and put that up in my sky. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more blue. So I go back in for another little tiny bit and I mix it in. Now there's not a lot of white in this, so it's turning dark blue quite quickly. One thing I can always do is I can go back to my puddle of white and add some more. I just have to be careful here not to make it a lighter tint. I want it to keep getting gradually a little bit darker and darker and darker. So I can test this and see if it looks any different. Not a big change. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit more blue, add it to my bigger puddle of paint, and I think that will work nicely. My goal is to get it just a tiny bit darker. Not a lot. We're going to do this gradually, almost like we've done with creating value scales with our pencils. So once again, I take another little dab of my blue. I mix it in. If it doesn't look like it changed enough, take another small dab and then give it a test on your paper. So as you'll notice, my circles are getting bigger as I go around. That's good. That's a sign that you're doing it right. I'm just using up the paint that I've got the best that I can. There might be little bits in between that aren't perfectly covered. That's okay. As you can tell, I'm running out of paint. So I'm going to take a new big puddle of white, even bigger. And this means I'm going to need to add at least a couple dabs of blue. Let's try that. See if we're close to where we were. That's looking pretty close to where we were. I can test it. And I can also, oh, that's even a little bit lighter than where we were. A little bit more. That's looking better. Now if we want it one a little bit darker, I think that's where we're at. You might notice there's a bunch of paint in here. The best thing I can do is try and wipe it down back to where I can use it. You might also just need to clean your brush every now and again with the water. Try to use up the paint though and not just rinse it off into that cup. This is good stuff. We don't want to waste it. So I'm going to keep going adding more and more until I get to something that looks like regular blue, like I haven't even added any white to it. Now we're going to stop and transition. We've reached blue, getting darker and darker and darker with our tints. So now it's time to start creating shades, and we're going to do it in kind of an opposite manner. In creating tints, we started with white and we added blue to it. Now with our shades, we're going to start with blue and add black to it. And the reason is you're always looking for which one is lighter. In this case up here, the white was lighter, so we are starting with it and adding slowly to it. In this case, the blue is lighter, so we're going to start with it and add slowly to it with our black. That basically is the smartest way to do it so that you don't overpower your color really quickly. So we've got this puddle of blue right here. And I'm going to take just the tiniest little bit of black and mix it in. And if I don't notice a difference, and I've really got to be careful about this, I can do a little tiny bit more, but I don't want to do too much more than that. See, that's already getting super dark. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to problem solve. I've got a lot of that dark paint on here. I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to swish. I'm going to wipe. I'm going to blot, and I'm going to use some of this just not quite as dark paint that was left around the corners. This is why it's important to leave some of just regular old blue, because you might need it. Yep, that's definitely the next step in my concentric circles here. So you'll notice also that I'm getting close to my line that I drew. So I'm going to do my best to not go over that line, but it doesn't have to be super tidy. But we're just trying to leave that intact so that it will look like our horizon line where the earth and sky meet. So once I get this regular blue around, then I'm going to go back and use that shade that I made. Might even go all the way out to the corner up there. I'm going to make that shade, this one right here, my next circle, and then I might get 1 or 2 circles beyond that. But I'm basically trying to work my way all the way to the edges of my paper. And there it is. We've got tints and shades of blue, and it just needs to dry so that we can add finishing touches next time to add a little detail to our monochromatic winter landscape. Nice job. My monochromatic colors have dried, so it's time to add more features to my landscape. So you can probably see that I've sketched in with a pencil some of the things that I think would be appropriate to be up on this snow line. And I've got some evergreen trees, and I've got a snowman and a child working on that snowman. I have just black paint, and I have the 2 smallest brushes I could find. And it's up to me now to carefully paint in everything that I've traced out with black paint, no blue mixed in, so that it looks like a silhouette against the night sky in the wintertime. So here we go.